Hi everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. In one of my previous videos, I showed how I made this life notebook and what it's for. I will link that video in the description box. And immediately I have enjoyed having one notebook for everything I need in terms of notebooks. Well, almost everything, because I also do have this other disc-bound notebook that I made several months ago, which I used for the handwritten rough drafts of my stories and for taking notes on some books that I am reading for my thesis, and also other books that I read for other researches and books that I read for pleasure, even though I hardly ever do that actually. I will also link in the description box my video about the making of this notebook. And because I was so happy with my life notebook, the sweater themed life notebook, initially I thought of refreshing this notebook as well, make new covers and dividers for it to make it as pretty as my life notebook. And then I realized that doing that would negate the purpose of my life notebook, because the purpose of the life notebook is to have just one notebook for all of my notebook needs. So I thought it would be best if I just move the contents of this notebook into the life notebook, because after all, I did say that the life notebook should be able to adjust to my changing needs. And this would be the chance for me to see if the life notebook could indeed expand if I add more things in it. So I have taken out the contents of this older notebook, and now I can take it apart. And by the way, I never throw my old covers away. I just keep everything in storage. Also, my dividers, I never throw them away because I only ever use A5 Slim and A5. And so I know that someday I will end up using my old covers and dividers. And of course, the discs will always be kept in storage as well. And I have moved the Life Notebook to expander discs. These are the teal colored metal ones from the Happy Planner. They call it teal, but to my eyes, they look more like a turquoise. These are 1.75 inches in diameter, or converted to millimeters, it's 44.45, which is a significant size difference from the previous black metal discs I had on the first iteration of the Life Notebook, which was 28 millimeters. And of course, I added sections. Here is the commonplace section, reading notes, story ideas and drafts, and the journal section is still here, of course, but I changed the picture I used for it because I liked this better for my journal section. It used to be this one. Next is the Moxie and Life section for my goals brainstorming, and I added a research section. I will use this currently for my thesis, which I'm finishing up, and this is where the pages from the old disc-bound notebook went. I also added a section for notes for watching media. I watch a lot of movies and TV shows, partly for the entertainment, but also more importantly because I'm a writer and I need to study plot and characterization when it comes to writing a screenplay. And I chose very similar colors for the reading notes and the watching notes because they have a similar purpose. I take notes from the perspective of a writer. And of course, the color of the tabs is also dependent on the dominant color of the photo that I chose for the divider. Next is the section for miscellaneous. I also changed the divider for this. It used to be this one. The much larger discs certainly feel better to me when it comes to functionality, because at the moment this holds everything I need in a notebook, specifically the pages and the sections of a notebook. And the thickness of the notebook is not daunting or overwhelming to me. Remember, I have been on expander discs for my planner since around August of 2021, and I have had no problems, no complaints at all. They are chunky, but as long as I have everything I need, I can take chunky. Now, because I plan to be bringing this around with me everywhere I go, I need a more protective cover. I decided to make a snap cover for this as well, just like my daily planner here, which goes around everywhere with me. I made the snap cover myself. My disc-bound wallet also has a snap cover so that the contents will be more secure because these are cards and cash in here. I have the process videos up on my channel for the snap covers, and I will link them down below. If you follow that video, it can act as a tutorial. My catch-all also has a snap cover. This never leaves my bedroom, but I wanted to protect the divider tabs, which look so pretty, and I want all of these 3 volumes to match anyway, so I made a snap cover for my catch-all as well. I have a video about my current planner stack, and I will link it down below so you can see how everything fits into the system. Clearly, this life notebook needs a snap cover as well, but it needs a different kind of foredge. Let me explain. I purchased this expanding file or expanding folder in a frosted white semi-transparent hard plastic, and I actually like the closure of this, but I did not buy this for the closure. I bought this for this panel right here that can curve over an opening, and it can expand and contract depending on the thickness of what it needs to keep closed. I plan to cut this down to the proper size in such a way that the curved panel will go on the foredge of the notebook to cover the opening of the notebook. But the problem was the material of this expanding folder is not a perfect match to the snap covers that I already have on my other disc-bound things. This expanding folder that I have is a flat matte, but the snap covers I have on have a very fine texture that is made of debossed lines, and it has a shine to it. And then that's when I realized I did have an older expanding folder that had the exact same finish as my snap covers, because I suspect that these were made by the same manufacturers. The snap covers that I made were cut from the covers of a clear book, and this expanding file that I have here I used for a few months as my writing envelope, and I even have a video about what it contains and how I have set it up. I will link the video down below. But now I want to use this expanding folder so that it will match the rest of my snap covers, and I can just transfer all of the contents from here to the other one that I have just recently bought. So I cut down the expanding file folder to a smaller size that is more easily workable for me. I first created the panel for the back, and I made sure that the panel for the back has the curved part that will then fold over to the front to become the flap with the snap. Now, of course, I can also make this curved panel myself if I just make the necessary shallow cuts on the plastic. Just copy the pattern right here, but the cuts have to be very even and very straight, and I am not very confident about my ability to achieve that. But for now, I need this one that is already made. Okay, now I just need to cut these down to the final size, and then I need to cut the panel for the front cover, which is just going to be the basic single panel. And after I have done that, it is time to put on the snaps. But before actually putting on the snaps, I need to figure out the final width of the front cover, because the pliers for the snaps can only go up to 2 centimeters in, maybe 2.5 centimeters in if I really force it. And I originally thought that I could probably place 2 snaps in one cover, because if I decide to go to smaller discs, I can still use the same snap covers, but I get to use the second snap to compress the notebook. If you have seen leather binders with a strap closure with a snap buttons, some of them have 2 snaps, so that if your binder has less contents, you can use the compression snap. I hope I'm making sense. So anyway, I I thought about doing that, but I cannot do that because the pliers can only go so far. So I decided to proceed anyway because I figured I do have the curved panel that covers the foredge anyway. That will compress things in case I move back to smaller discs. Although I know myself, so I can say that moving to smaller discs is highly unlikely because I almost always tend to move to larger discs instead of smaller discs. And it's really pretty much the same process that I did before. I marked where I was going to make the holes, which should be at the intersection of the center and 2 centimeters in. And then I put the snaps on. Once more, I'm going to use the clear snaps. First, I put in the snaps that will go on the top of the closure flap, and then I put in the snaps that will go on the front cover, which will end up as the bottom panel of the entire snap cover configuration. The full tutorial video to do this will be linked in the description box. Things will be clearer if you watch that video. And then it is time to do the hole punching, and I did this the same way I always have. I used a paper template that is already hole punched using my Happy Planner punch, and I place it in the center of what I need to hole punch, and then I clip the template to the plastic, and then I create the holes using my single hole punch and a pair of scissors. If you have a better hole puncher like the Arc that can punch through plastic, you will have a much easier time, but I do not have the Arc punch. And then the final step is to place the snap covers on the discs. And I can say that it looks so good. I really like how the curved panel cinches the foredge of the notebook because the foredge is actually thinner than the side that is on the discs because I have placed narrower paper on here. Later on, I will do a flip through so you will see where the narrow pages are and why they are there. Now, finally, all of my disc bound stuff, well, the thick ones at least, have snap covers that match. Now they look like part of a set. And I have a section in the Life Notebook for research. Now it's time to gather all of my other loose notes that are all over the place. They're all over my bedroom and in the other bedroom that I keep my stuff in. And I just gathered some of them and put them in the section for research. I just need to hole punch them and place them on the discs. And I did place these page flags at the bottom just to let me know which notes should go together because they're about the same work. This one page right here is actually an old idea that I had for designing a leather cover for my disc-bound planner. It was lying around in my notes for my thesis. I don't know how that happened. So I decided to put it where it belongs, in this section in my catch-all called Planner Fun. But because the paper is in standard A5, I had to score it at the 95 millimeter mark to make it the A5 slim when it's folded over, and therefore it will fit inside my catch-all. I also have here a top-bound, disc-bound notebook for my research notes, and it is a hot mess. It is a hot, hot mess. The top-bound, disc-bound notebook, which is very cumbersome to open and close, this has two parts. This one right here with a ghostly cover is for my research for my thesis because I am using spectrality as a framework for analyzing the novels that is part of my corpus. The other side of the disc-bound notebook has a photo of an old map on the cover because this part of the notebook has notes for my novel, my first novel, which I have already finished writing last August. The novel is now at the proofreading and typesetting stage right now. But when I made this notebook in 2021, I wasn't done writing the novel yet, but I was a fellow to the 60th University of the Philippines National Writers Workshop, and we discussed the novel my novel. So here I have the notes from the workshop. These old notes need to be scanned in high resolution and then filed away, and the originals shredded. I added yet another section to the Life Notebook called Lecture Notes because I do watch a lot of lectures, not necessarily related to my ongoing thesis. I just watch them a lot because I find them very interesting, and I found old notes from a lecture that I watched, which notes which I haven't processed yet or scanned, and for the moment I will place it in here in the section for lecture notes. And these two random sheets will go into the section for commonplace. And as I go around finding more and more loose notes that I have written months and years ago, I will gather them and place them in the proper section of this life notebook while I haven't processed them yet, while I haven't decided whether to scan them or to throw them away. Before the life notebook, my notes were a terrible mess. My notes were everywhere. Now, hopefully, because I shall have one notebook for everything, and there is a section in this one notebook for everything, my notes will become more organized. And that is the whole point of the Life Notebook. I can also add in more sections as needed because remember I started with only 6 sections in the previous video, but now I have 9 sections and there is room for more. And I can even switch to 2-inch metal discs. I have silver ones from Jane's Agenda, and the snap covers will still work with the larger discs. That is the whole point of having the curved panel over the foredge. Like I said, the Life Notebook should grow with me and should adjust to what I need. And I did not expand only the size of the notebook, the thickness of the notebook. I also expanded the functionality of the notebook by adding sections that I need and the snap covers. To complete the added functionality of this notebook, I will be adding pen holders. I purchased these because I want to be able to bring around this fountain pen, which I plan to use when journaling. This is the Wing Sung 698. It has a fine nib, and I like this for bringing around because it is transparent. It's a demonstrator pen. I can see right away if I have enough ink before I leave the house, and it is also a piston filler, meaning it can hold so much more ink, so I will not need to worry about running out of ink when I am journaling on the fly. This is a wonderful pen. It's not expensive at all. In fact, I don't even remember how much this cost. It's that affordable. If this were expensive, I would remember exactly how much this cost. But I don't remember, so the cost must have been small. And just to give you a comparison, here is the Pilot Metropolitan. It has a converter. The converter is very small. It can hold only a little bit of ink, and the pen itself is not transparent. I wouldn't know if I have enough ink unless I unscrew the barrel and look at the converter with my own 2 eyes. It's a bit fiddly to do that every time I need to go out of the house, so I will just use this transparent Wingsung, the demonstrator Wingsung, in my life notebook. I have here a few sheets of paper that tracks what inks are in what pen, and it's a very useful tracking sheet to have if you have multiple pens and multiple inks that you play around with all the time. I placed the fountain pen at the back cover, and the other pen holder that I want to put here will be holding this mechanical pencil. This is my favorite pencil. This is the Tombow Monograph with a 0.5 tip. This is in the mint green color, which was a special edition color from last year, I think. I have all of the colors from that line, and I have a video about the colors, which I will link down below. I also have a video review about this specific pencil, and I will also link that below. This pencil is a shaker pencil. You can shake the pencil to extrude the lead. This is very handy for me who has a broken wrist. But you can also extrude the lead the normal way. This pencil has a retractable eraser which is also refillable, and this is yet another reason why this pencil is my favorite. And the classic Tombow stripe color is the one that I use in my daily planner. These are the same pencils, just different colors. When the snap covers are closed, the pen and the pencil do not bend the dividers. They touch the dividers, the tabs of the dividers a teeny tiny bit, I think, but I don't see any bending going on, and that is the intention. Now we finally go to the final flip through of my expanded life notebook. Here is the section for commonplace notes, which will contain what we usually write inside commonplace notebooks. Like this old one that I found floating around in my room, it is a list of songs that I like. This is for reading notes, and in here I have my old notes from when I was reading Mexican Gothic. I must scan these pages someday soon and shred the original. This section will contain my story ideas and rough drafts, and I actually have here a bunch of story ideas that I have gathered over the past couple of years or so. These used to be in my 3x5 index card notebook. A video about that notebook will be linked down below, but they are now supposed to be in the life notebook, specifically in this section. So I trimmed the index cards down so that they can go on the discs stacked this way without overlapping. And I am glad that now my ideas and drafts are in the same place. Next is the section for my journal. Here is a tracking sheet for the inks and pens that I am currently using because I have multiple ones currently inked. Right now I am journaling in this bound notebook because I am trying to finish up the remaining pages. But after this is done, I will be journaling in the life notebook. This section here already has an assortment of papers that are fountain pen friendly, such as the onion skin paper in 36 GSM and some of the 40 GSM onion skin that I have remaining. I have a video comparing the two kinds of onion skin on my channel, and I will link it down below. Now, some of the papers here are slightly narrower than A5. That is because some of these are actually leftover paper from the Bavaria paper that I had to cut down to a specific size. I don't throw away paper scraps if they are this big. And here is a laminated pouch that I made. It has this bookmark from Everything Calligraphy. This is where I purchased Elias paper. I just keep this bookmark in here because I want to punch holes in this to turn this into a bookmark that I will use in my journal section. This is the section for my Moxie Life workbook and my goals, which I must re-examine and assess every month or so. This section is for research, and these are my notes for watching movies and TV shows. I have here currently my notes from when I watched the Nocebo film. It is awesome. I highly recommend it. And finally, here is the section for miscellaneous, which also has a side loading pouch, which currently has some transparent sticky notes. I just toss them in here just in case I need them when I'm out and about. And then this is my section for lecture notes from lectures that are not related to my current thesis. These are just, random lectures that I come across. They're so much fun to watch because I am a nerd. I do like the current configuration of this life notebook. I like how the snap covers cinch the thinner foredge. And now you know why the foredge is thinner than the rest of the notebook. It's because of the journal pages that are narrower and the index cards that hold my story ideas. I really intend for this notebook to be in use for many, many years to come. And as my needs evolve, this notebook should be able to evolve with me. And as you have just seen, I was able to reconfigure this notebook already. Of course, I will be sharing update videos when I make massive changes in this, but for the most part, this notebook is all set to go for the rest of 2023, and I'm actually already using it. And that is my video for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found some tips here that you can use when making your own notebooks. Thanks for watching. Bye.